The 2014 NBA Finals, the 2013-2014 NBA season produced the 68th edition of the NBA Finals. In the 68th NBA Finals, the San Antonio Spurs just really showed that they were the better team all around, because the Spurs won the NBA Finals against the Miami Heat by a score of 4-1. It is King LeBron James. King has to match up 41. San Antonio equals 41. For the Spurs' fifth championship, the Spurs won the series in 5 games. You can definitely say Illuminati. It's San Antonio that produced the end of the Miami Heat. In the 68th NBA Finals, in Gematria, it is the end of Miami that has Gematria 68. The matchup itself, San Antonio-Miami, has Gematria 68. And in the 68th NBA Finals, the Spurs really showed who was better. The Spurs showed that they choked in Game 6. The Spurs showed they were a better team than the Heat. Better than Miami has Gematria 68. Why did we see San Antonio-Miami? Because this was, in fact, a championship series in the NBA Finals. The 60th edition of the NBA Finals was also a rematch from the prior year before. Rematch has 68 and 32. Now, what was the real reason why the series ended 5 games against the Miami Heat? It had something to do with a World Cup over at Brazil. You see, because ESPN, ABC, Disney had TV rights to the NBA Finals. The NBA Finals began in early June, and it coincided with the start of the 2014 World Cup. The World Cup began on June the 12th. In other words, the NBA wanted to end the NBA Finals as soon as they could, so ESPN could only concentrate on World Cup coverage. They had to end the NBA Finals early so they could solely concentrate on the World Cup. ESPN was airing multiple World Cup games every day. SportsCenter, the World Cup had to be the center of attention. Game 4 was played on the start of the World Cup, so you had to get people thinking, hey, the NBA Finals is over. Let's just worry about the World Cup. Let's get people interested about the World Cup. And this is why the NBA Finals ended in Game 5. It was all part of the plan for the folks at ABC and Disney and ESPN and for the Spurs to get their revenge as part of the script. So this is why the series ended in 5 games. As noted by Brian Tooley in his website called The Fix Is In. Now, why do Spurs win NBA Finals championships? They're seen as a boring team in America. They don't produce that much ratings, but the fact of the matter is that the San Antonio Spurs are really popular outside of America. They have multiple international stars. Now, I get it. Tim Duncan is really from America, the Virgin Islands, but he's outside of the mainland of the United States. Tony Parker from France, Manuel Ginobili from Argentina. You had many guys over the years like Alberto, for instance. And you go on the Spurs team, Thiago Splitter, Brazilian center. Interesting. The World Cup was played afterwards. He won the NBA championship. Corey Joseph, Canada. And then you had Patty Mills from Australia, raining threes during those NBA Finals. And my guy on the Phoenix Suns, Boris Dia. Marco Bellinelli from Italy. Aaron Baines, the big center, Australia. San Antonio Spurs produced a brand of international attention across the world. It is international that has Gematria of 62. San Antonio Spurs has Gematria of 62. The commissioner had the finals end quickly so they could start the World Cup and focus their TV coverage on it. FIFA World Cup has Gematria of 62. The 2013-2014 Heat was their 26th season. Many people thought LeBron would win 2 3-peats, but that wasn't what the script called for. The script called for LeBron to win in Miami, to win in Cleveland, and then to win a 3-peat with the Lakers. Many people saw the 26th season of the Miami Heat as a year that LeBron is compared to Jordan with the NBA Finals win again, because Jordan has Jumanji of 26, and the fact that it is the Heat that has Jumanji of 31. So people thought, hey, LeBron was going to go 3-1 in the NBA Finals with Miami. But that wasn't necessarily the case. 67 prior NBA Finals, the Heat has Jumanji of 67. The San Antonio Spurs were the blood sacrifice in the 67th NBA Finals the prior year. We're talking about 2012, 2013 when the Spurs choked and missed the free throw and Ray Allen hit the three. The Spurs were the blood sacrifice in the 67th NBA Finals the year before. After 67 prior NBA Finals, the Miami Heat were going to be the blood sacrifice. They wore black on the road. They wore black in Game 5. The Miami Heat lost. LeBron was padding up the stats. They were just letting the Spurs rein it in with three-pointers to produce mass entertainment. And so this was a little trap with the Michael Jordan connection there. With a victory in the NBA Finals, the Spurs had a 5-1 record in the NBA Finals. It was their 6th NBA Finals. They did so against LeBron, number 6. Ramon James has gematria of 51. Against LeBron, the Spurs increased their NBA Finals record to 5-1, defeating LeBron James in one of 2 NBA Finals against the Heat. James has gematria of 12. James had a 1-2 NBA Finals record against the Spurs because he lost in 2007 and he lost in 2014. This adds up to 21. This is the gematria of Spurs having gematria of 21. The fact that it is title, that it's Duncan that has gematria of 21. Duncan winning many NBA titles throughout his career. We have revenge. Revenge for the Spurs and what happened in Game 6 the prior year. The Spurs showed that they were the better team once again. Because once again, it's better than Miami that has the gematria of the 68th NBA Finals. The script called for the Spurs to show who was the better team. Revenge has gematria of 40. 2014 NBA Finals right before the World Cup. The Miami Heat dynasty ended right before the World Cup. After the 2010 World Cup, the Miami Heat dynasty began. The 2013-2014 season as of the 27, were the Heat going to be a dynasty that year? That was one of the scripts at the beginning of the year. The 2013-2014 season, were the Heat going to be a dynasty? This was one of the scripts. You knew they were going to defend their title really hard. Up until the NBA Finals and having to start the World Cup. Miami, gematria 27. Soccer has gematria of 27. No, Miami did not win the three-peat. It shows you that gematria is supposed to be a little maze sometimes. It ain't supposed to be clear-cut all the time. LeBron's NBA Finals record went to, it was 2007, 2-3. LeBron's record in the NBA Finals was 2-3. It was LeBron's 5th NBA Finals appearance. The Spurs won their 5th title. That was Illuminati. LeBron 2-3 in the NBA Finals. His number 23, the gematria of King. Also the gematria of the end of the Miami Heat. Because it is end that has gematria of 23 and 14 in the year 2014 produced the end of the Miami Heat, as well as the San Antonio Spurs. Although the Spurs reached the Western Conference Finals the prior season, so the end really didn't happen until the year 15, which, by the way, is the gematria of Texas. No Miami three-peat. No Miami three-peat because Michael Jordan's the greatest player, and the script calls for the Lakers three-peat and the Cleveland Cavaliers championship later on. Notice that the Miami Heat won 82 games last year. Right before the start of the 2013-2014 season, the script was determined. No Miami three-peat after the Miami NBA Finals comeback. No LeBron Miami three-peat has gematria of 185, so does Book of Revelation. The San Antonio Spurs equals the Pythagorean gematria, the singular Pythagorean gematria of Book of Revelation. The 2014 NBA Finals began on a date of June the 5th. June the 5th can be written out as the 5th day of the 6th month, sort of like 56. San Antonio, Texas has gematria 56. No Miami three-peat. All CNI. The Brazilian center Thiago Splitter wins the championship before the World Cup over at Brazil. Master Plan has gematria of 119 as well. Revenge against Miami. That is the gematria of the name of the San Antonio basketball team, the Spurs. It's Tim Duncan, who played for the Spurs. The Spurs has gematria of 36. Tim Duncan, 99. The end of the Miami Heat, 99. Greatest NBA player, LeBron James, playing on a weak Heat team with no center. The beginning of the season was held on October the 29th. Boom! The 29th day of the year. The team coming off of the repeat. 2 out of 3 championships after winning their first championship. The 82 wins right there. You see that? For the Miami Heat the prior year before. LeBron's 2-3 NBA Finals record. So October the 29th, the beginning of the NBA season of 2013, as at the 72. Greatest NBA player, the San Antonio Spurs were better than the Heat. It was also the end of the Heat. Mark of the Beast. Interesting thing about Mark of the Beast, when you include the in the Mark of the Beast, LeBron lost again. They're calling LeBron a loser, a choker and all this. The shaming of the biggest face in the league. Game 5 happened to be at Texas. Texas is also the gematria of Tim. The Spurs were over. I think it was 2014, 2015. Greg Popovich. Greg has gematria 44. He prevented the three-peat. That's the same gematria as King James and Pythagorean. Timothy Duncan prevented the three-peat. Timothy is his real name. Timothy Duncan has gematria of 167. 167 also happens to be the gematria of, you guessed it, San Antonio, Miami. Tim Duncan, one of the star players of this Spurs Heat series. And now, how many days until the end of the year, October the 29th? 63 days. 63 days, what did we have here in the calculator for 63? I do not do reverse gematria. Soccer could have been part of the plan to end the NBA Finals that quickly. For the Spurs to win the NBA Finals in 5 games. 5 gematria 24. The Miami Heat won the championship in 2 out of 4 seasons. This was the Spurs' 5th championship. 5th has gematria of 31. Also the gematria of the Heat, gematria 31. The amount of time from October the 29th to the day of LeBron's birthday, December the 30th of 2013. I did this incorrectly. October the 29th of 2013, and LeBron's birthday December the 30th of 2013. I think I get 62. 62 days, that's the gematria of Jordan. 2 months and 1 day, that's the gematria of Spurs. Michael Jordan, is this LeBron's moment to be Michael Jordan? But really, one could say, hey, LeBron's going to win because of that, but it just means that he's going to be playing in the championship series. That's all it was telling you. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 18. That's the gematria of three-peat. But it didn't happen. Date numerology of 18 and three-peat. It just told you that the Miami Heat were going to be playing in the NBA Finals. It didn't mean they were going to win. Okay. How about King LeBron's birthday? King LeBron, December the 30th, and then the whole NBA Finals in 2014. Star of the NBA Finals, June the 5th. Which, by the way, June the 5th, 2014, date numerology 45, three-peat gematria 45. It did not happen. Gematria, numerology trap. I do real numerology, NBA Illuminati. 5th championship, the NBA Finals began on the 5th day, Tim Duncan's 5th ring. Then June the 15th adds up to 21. Spurs is 21 in gematria. This NBA Finals ended on the 15th day. Tim Duncan wins the ring. Tim is 15. Texas is 15. They win. They win the championship. 24 weeks later, LeBron wins 2 out of 4 with the Miami Heat. 167 days later from his birthday to the end of the NBA Finals, bam! It ain't about LeBron James. It's about Timothy Duncan. Timothy Duncan, 167. Also, it is San Antonio, Miami, the matchup. Boom! Tim Duncan's name was all about LeBron's birthday. It ain't about LeBron that year. It was about Tim Duncan. April the 25th of 1976. Birthday numerology of 34. Perfect. Tim Duncan played twice against the Miami Heat. He won his 5th championship against the Miami Heat. It's Heat by itself that has gematria of 34. Tim Duncan's a 34 birthday numerology. April the 25th. Miami Heat repeated the year before. NBA season began on the 29th day. Born in the year 76, that's the gematria of revenge in the calculator. As I've showed you before, gematria of revenge. Tim Duncan's year. He gets revenge against the Heat. April the 25th of 2014 adds up to 63 and 43. What do we get for Tim Duncan? We get a lot of things that equal 43. We get champion having gematria of 43. The fact that it is Miami Heat that is gematria of 43. April the 29th to the beginning of the NBA Finals. Tim Duncan, 2014. To the end of the NBA Finals, let's do that first. 6 weeks and 6 days when you include the end day. That's the gematria of title. That's the gematria of also LeBron, for instance. 47 degrees in the Masonic compass. 48 days when you include the end day. That's the gematria of James. And now the beginning of the NBA Finals on June the 5th. What Tim Duncan's birthday is 38 days when you include the end day. That is the gematria of winner. Winner has gematria of 38. Greg Popovich, January the 28th. Birthday numerology of 43. Champion has gematria of 43. January the 28th of 2014. Miami didn't three-peat. Three-peat is 18 in Pythagorean gematria. January the 28th, at the beginning of the NBA Finals for the San Antonio Spurs seeking their revenge. 128 days. Greg Popovich's birthday, 1-28. January the 28th, 18 weeks, three-peat. Miami chasing a three-peat. End of the NBA Finals. 138 days later, 139 days when you include the end day, the gematria, Freemasons rigging the NBA. They want balance in the league. Freemasonry 138. Master Mason has gematria of 138. This is how you know the NBA Finals was scripted. And let's go over to the rest of the international players. Marco Bellinelli, Boris Diaw, some other guys. Marco Bellinelli, 67 prior NBA Finals. Significance of Bellinelli and three-peat in the repeat, having gematria 44. Spurs roster. Boris Diaw. Boris has gematria 27. It's Miami that has gematria 47. 27. Baines, Aaron Baines, gematria 66, 21. Idol, perfect gematria. Patty Mills, Patty, 82. The Heartbreak, 82 wins last year. Patty Mills, gematria. The gematria of Mills, it's Mills has gematria of 65. It's repeat. The Heat only win a three-peat. Patty Mills, it in three-pointers. Manu Ginobili. Manu Ginobili, gematria 126. What else did we get with 126 here in the calculator? The Spurs, Manu Ginobili. That's why he plays for the Spurs. Corey Joseph, the Canadian. Canada, gematria 24. Texas, gematria 15. 2 out of 4 championships for King LeBron. Joseph and Crown, for instance. Tony Parker. Parker gematria 69-33. Leonard gematria 69 and 33. These guys from France. France has gematria of 29. Repeat. LeBron beat some French players. So, you get my point with a lot of these international players. San Antonio Spurs hitting three-pointers. The San Antonio Spurs, by the way, won 62 games that season. That is the gematria of Jordan. Jordan has gematria of 62. This was towards the end for Tony Parker and company, that Spurs core. Michael Jordan and LeBron James, that's why they won 62 games. Their 78th win clinched the NBA championship. 78 wins for the year, NBA Finals. It's also the San Antonio Spurs that has gematria of 77. The Spurs jump ahead 3-1 against the Heat. The Heat has gematria of 31. The Spurs jump ahead 1-3. Miami is down 1-3. They lose 1-4. They've ended their run, the Miami Heat. Date numerology of 55. Don't know what that has to do with it. How about June the 15th? June the 15th, the end of the NBA Finals. 166th day of the year. I'm not sure what the meaning of that is. Let me just go to box scores quickly. Box score. Spurs win by 15 points in Game 1. That is the gematria of Texas having gematria 15. Tim Duncan scores 21 points. Titles 21. Spurs is 21. LeBron James 25 points for the Miami Heat. I know Kawhi has gematria of 25. The Heat had 25 prior seasons before this. Miami Heat scored 95 points. They lose the game. The game was tied at 95 before it went to overtime. Game 6 of the prior NBA Finals. The Miami Heat win 98-96. 98 points. Champions as gematria of 98. It is the repeat that has gematria of 98. It is also three-peat that has gematria of 98. The Heat did not win the three-peat, but hey, their hopes remained alive after that game. Another Spurs leading scorer with 21 points. Spurs in title have gematria of 21. It's King James that has gematria of 35. Spurs win 111-92. San Antonio up 2-1. The gematria of Spurs, 44 points for James and Wade. The repeat, three-peat, total 44 points. Kawhi Leonard has gematria of 29. That's the gematria of repeat. Many other things can equal 29 as well. San Antonio Spurs win by 19 points. It may be end of the Heat. End of the Heat has gematria of 111. The Heat are down. The Spurs score 111 points. It's almost the end for these guys. Game 4, 107 points for the Spurs. Spurs win their first championship in 7 years since 2007. 7 has gematria of 65. It's Florida that has gematria of 65, coming off of the repeat. You know, this is why the Spurs have won after a championship drought. 26 is really common. That's the gematria of Jordan. LeBron James, 28 points. Gematria of Crown. Game 5 over at Texas. Tim has gematria of 15. Notice that 2014 in numerology is a 7-year. They win the championship 7 years later after 2007. The Spurs and the Heat dynasty. LeBron James, 31 points. The Heat has gematria of 31. LeBron just, he runs up the score. Miami only scored 18 points. They're totally not going to three-peat. They scored 30 points in the third quarter against the one-man show LeBron James because his team didn't show up. And the Heat were not trying. They got, you see, 22-6 lead. Come on, man. That shit ain't real, man. LeBron just took a dive here. LeBron took a dive because it's all part of the script. San Antonio wins 4 out of 5 games to prevent the Miami Heat three-peat. You see this? Spurs' 5th title. 5th title. 5th NBA title for the Spurs against LeBron, Ramon, James, boom. 5th ring for many of these guys. For Manu Ginobili, for, you know, some of these guys were there, some of these guys were not. Tim Duncan and Greg Popovich certainly did. So Tim would be 45 years old, and then he was 39 years of age in 2014. That's unbelievable. He was towards the end of his career. His minutes were being managed. Greg Popovich, 71 years of age, born at Chicago, East Chicago, Indiana, excuse me. Greg Popovich was 65 years of age. That's a gematria of repeat. That's a gematria of 7. The championship drought 7 years later for Pop and the San Antonio Spurs. Alrighty, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He won a title in his 7th season. 8, 9, 10, 11. His 11th season, or his 10th full season as the San Antonio. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. His 18th season, he won the NBA championship to deny the three-peat. This was his 18th season in the National Basketball Association. That's 2, 3, 6, 11, 18th season, 2013, 2014. How many games did the Spurs lose that year? 25. Okay. They lost 25 games. It was close to being 26, but that's not what the script called for. Not everything lines up by the numbers. Mark of the Beast, gematria of 54, the end of the Heat dynasty, as I've said before. The Heat enter the NBA Finals with 66 wins. That's the gematria of LeBron. The Miami Heat only win 67 games the rest of the way because it's the blood sacrifice after 67 prior NBA Finals. The Spurs were the blood sacrifice in the 2013 NBA Finals. Not the Miami Heat were the blood sacrifice in 2013, 2014. Ballots in the National Basketball Association. The end of the Miami Heat. The Spurs' revenge before the start of the World Cup. The international team wins before the World Cup. ESPN had the focus on its World Cup coverage.